everyone, and welcome to the finals of the StarCityGames.com Columbus Open Weekend. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan here in the booth to bring you our final match of the weekend between Stephen Dykman on the left, the #1 overall seed with green-black aggro, and Brennan DeCandio on the right with black-green Delirium, #2 overall seed. #1 and #2 all weekend long. Rarely do you see them face off in the tournament, in the final round of the tournament, but here we are. And Patrick, they have dominated this tournament.
Absolutely.
Through 15 rounds and the elimination rounds.
Yes, I think 3 losses between the two of them in the tournament so far.
Dykman's going to start things off here with a glint sleeve Siphoner.
And this is another one of the cards that I think gives Dykman an edge in just playing the nuts and bolts, non-synergistic game of Magic. If this thing sticks around, it's worth some extra cards. It allows him to bridge to Tireless Tracker plus land drops and then to his top end. Interesting that Dykman has a bit of an energy sub-theme here, not something we saw out of the other green-black lists, where you have cards like this, you have Aethersphere Harvester, and those interactions have been coming up in the games we've watched as well.
This is a Grim Harvester, I believe. Let me take a look.
The Flare.
Grim Flare, excuse me, I apologize. Grim Flare here for DeCandio. I keep thinking of the Aethersphere Harvester for Dykman, which has been so impressive for him. For Stephen, we'll see how he wants to move forward on his third turn of the game. You know, we talked about how impressive DeCandio was in his previous match. Dykman was equally impressive in his quarterfinal match.
He mulliganed to 5 on the draw and missed a second land drop, and then by the end of the game, it looked like the other person was the one who had mulliganed to 5.
Yeah. Didn't even get close to losing that game. Here's a Forest. There's a Harvester. Up to 3 energy. And just going to pass the turn back. Not going to get in there with the Siphoner.
And this is a great spot here if he's able to trade the Harvester with a removal spell. Not the end of the world here, because the Siphoner still gets to draw a card. And if DeCandio can't move into combat at all, the Siphoner still gets to draw a card.
Yep.
Just a little taste of the energy theme. Not playing a tune, not trying to go too deep with it, but we've seen the Siphoner and the Harvester interact with each other very well with Dykman on camera.
Ruinous Path, Walking Ballista, a couple other cards in hand here for Brennan.
And it's a very synergistic package too, or at least makes sense, because when you're in the market to pay life to draw cards, you're probably not in the market for lifelink and the other way around. So it's a nice way to diversify your energy output.
Walking Ballista will take care of the Siphoner. You saw Dykman activate the Harvester with the Siphoner, which means the Grim Flare is hanging back on defense. Four mana here. That's a Walking Ballista for 2.
And sometimes, you know, these tournaments week 1 are as simple as, did you figure out the best card in the new set? And both of these players getting to the finals with Walking Ballista being a huge part of it.
Yeah, 3 for Dykman, 4 for DeCandio. Here's Rishkar. I'm going to target Rishkar and Grim Flare. How impressive has Rishkar been for you this weekend?
Very good. I mean, it's a lot of numbers, and it's distributed in an efficient way. If you're playing kind of regular Magic with it, it's above rate to begin with. And if you're really leaning into counters matter sort of stuff, like DeCandio and Dykman are, it's even better than that. It is not necessarily the most powerful thing in the very, very fast matchups or the very, very slow matchups, but the matchups in the middle, it's definitely worth the 3 mana.
Grim Flare is going to bite the dust. Rishkar will get a counter. I think that will be DeCandio's turn. So now we're going to head back over to Stephen Dykman. Dykman will draw a card. He's tapping 3 mana right away. Let's see what he has here. Nissa. Okay. Gonna go up and make a plant token. Unfortunately, that cannot crew the Harvester.
And you can tell Dykman was trying to sculpt this game in such a way where he would really get a window to play that hissing Quagmire. It's been jammed up in his hand for a long time, and his only source of black mana for a while was that Ether Hub. So he's slowed the game down a little bit. DeCandio's not up to all that much, and he can make a proactive play that turn and also get his enters the battlefield land tapped into play without disrupting his tempo.
So DeCandio's drawn the card that I am most interested in the matchup, and a card that he has been a big fan of all weekend long, and that's Mindwreck Demon. Now, the interesting thing about Mindwreck Demon is here's an attack by Rishkar, and now Ruinous Path's going to take care of the Nissa, Grim Flayers to follow up, is Mindwreck Demon does get checked pretty well by the 3/5.
Yeah.
So I do still think it's good here, but it's not the end-all be-all. Dykman will draw a card. It looks like he picked up a copy of Tireless Tracker. So he's going to play that. Now he'll play a Blooming Marsh, get a clue. Now he's got a way to turn on the Harvester, and he's got a way to start building towards card advantage.
Yep. And this is Dykman's edge in the matchup.
Yep.
He just looks at more cards than DeCandio does.
DeCandio will draw a card, picked up another Grim Flayer.
But this is not a squad that can attack through the 3/5.
Yep.
And if Dykman gets to start rolling with Tireless Tracker, you know, that's been his recipe. We've watched him play a number of creature-oriented matchups. And the path for him a lot of time has just been slow the game down a little bit and then just find extra cards.
Mindwreck Demon is going to turn over a bunch of cards, an instant among them, which means that Delirium is online. So doesn't have to worry about the 4 life. He's got a 4/5 Flying Trampler. Rishkar will allow DeCandio to play another copy of Grim Flayer, and now Dykman will take the opportunity to sacrifice a clue to draw a card. So this is what you're talking about when it comes to being able to look at a lot more cards.
Yeah. The board's locked up right now, and this is the process of Dykman starting to pull away a little bit. It'd be very nice for him to have a land drop here, of course. But if he doesn't have lands, he's got spells.
Well, he does have a land, and he does have spells. This in Quagmire is the land, so there's a clue. The spells are Nissa and Fatal Push.
And Fatal Push a really good one to have here, because if DeCandio draws a removal spell, that might be enough for him to make an attack. I think Dykman might be worried that his Nissa is not quite safe enough yet.
Yeah, DeCandio's got a pretty decent board. I mean, he's just going to pass the turn back with Fatal Push and Quagmire at the ready. DeCandio will draw Ballista. He's got to figure out how he wants to use that. So I do think that's a pretty good draw.
It'd be really good from DeCandio's side if he can make an attack here that induces the Fatal Push and then gets the Ballista going.
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to do. Here come 2 Grim Flayers and a Mindwreck Demon. I'm going to start by sacrificing a clue. Fatal Push. Oh, that's fun.
Oh, yeah. Clue plus Revolt.
Yep. Took me a second. Clues matter. Clues matter. It's not anything can be killed by Fatal Push.
I mean, I'm guessing the line here is I suppose he can wake up the Marsh here, too, if he wants to. If he wants to, if he's willing to, or the Quagmire, rather, he can put 3/5 on a 4/4. The Quagmire in front of one of the Grim Flayers, and Fatal Push whatever he doesn't want to block.
Yeah. But that's where Bliss is still good there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bliss can help to finish off some things. And you are kind of in a spot here where you don't want Grim Flayers to hit.
Right.
You know? Because then he gets to control his draw step some.
Yeah. I mean, basically the Grim Flayers hitting is DeCandio's version of being able to keep up on the card count battle. Yep. So I think if you're in Dykman's position, it's a premium to get those off the battlefield if you can.
So block there, looks like, at least. And then Quagmire can tap for a black, kill a Grim Flayer, which I think is what we're going to see. Yep. So Grim Flayer down. Grim Flayer and Quagmire will trade. And Mind Rack, Demon, and Harvester will run into each other. Though there is... Yeah, there's trample damage. Right.
Now I think DeCandio is looking at a Virtuous Gear Hulk here.
He is.
Which pairs very nicely with the Walking Ballista. I assume he will deploy this turn.
Mm-hmm.
And by taking care of the Harvester, now the skies are clear.
So he does not want... There's another Walking Ballista in there?
Yeah. He gets rid of the Evolving Wilds and he keeps two stunners on the top.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I think he'd be happy with both those draw steps. Ballista. Finish that off. Now, what Dykman's got going for him is Tireless Tracker. He needs some help with it, though. So Steven will draw. Okay, he's drawing a Virtuous Gear Hulk of his own. Not sure how good that is right now.
I mean, he can try to turn it into a bit of a damage race, but I'm worried if he spends his turn just loading up here with Virtuous Gear Hulk that between the options to chump block and the Virtuous Gear Hulk on the top of DeCandio's deck, Dykman's not going to have a good couple of turns.
Yeah. Let's see where Stephen wants to start. Remember, he does have a Winding Constrictor in hand, too. Constrictor's an interesting card to me in this matchup because I think it's going to be good in a lot of spots, especially to kind of start the game. I don't know how good it is as kind of a top deck late in the game.
You need to be able to go, I think you need to be able to go Constrictor and follow in that turn. But Constrictor pass is really rough stuff. I suppose he can just play Nissa and minus here and just try to get some presence on the battlefield. Might even be enough for him to attack with a Tireless Tracker. I don't think a plant gets you very far.
I don't think a plant does much at all.
And your Nissa's going to die to combat regardless.
So you might as well get some value on the way out the door.
Right.
Sure, are getting a lot of counters. All right, we're going beatdowns. 4, that's 7. It's not bad. Untap. Draw. Well, Brennan knows what the draw is. We do here in the booth, and you do at home. It's Virtuous Gear Hulk. How do you want to use it?
Well, if you go Gear Hulk and one of the counters goes on the Mind Rack Demon, that leaves you with 4 mana left over to pump the Walking Ballista. So if you want to, you can try to hang back on defense and do the Walking Ballista thing if you want to.
Okay. do the Ballista.
Do the Ballista.
It's a new dance.
If you're willing to give up on the counter this turn, then you can just put counters on wherever you want them to go and attack with Mind Rack Demon, either at Dykman or at Nissa. And if you want to go at Dykman, use one of the counters from the Ballista to finish off Nissa, most likely.
Well, the Walking Ballista's very upset. Beatdowns.
Yeah, I would assume both of these are just going at Dykman here since he can just use one of the counters from the Ballista to finish off the Nissa.
Yeah. Confirmed. All Steven. I don't think any real good blocks to be had here, right?
You can chump if you think that DeCandio's intent after the fact is to gun down your Tireless Tracker so you get off the battlefield, but I guess that's the case regardless. And most likely scenario is he's just going to finish off Nissa here. And he gets to keep the Ballista alive because now it's a 5/5 with 4 damage on it. Assuming that he finishes off Nissa.
Yeah.
He's not even going to bother with it. Never mind.
He's going to do it on upkeep.
Okay.
Which is
Sure.
the best time. The best
right,
time. Yeah. What's the no point in doing it on your own turn? Maybe you made a mistake, something like that. Yeah. Just take care of it.
I guess the reason is now you turn on Revolt on his turn, but
okay, that's a good point.
Not a huge deal.
Sack a clue, draw a card here, Will Steven. That's how his turn's going to start. I've been a little bit more impressed. Well, Rishkar's been better than I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't think the mana generation was going to be that relevant or the counters. I didn't know what to expect kind of going in. I know that top level podcast, Chapin and Flores got to kind of preview this card, and it's a lot better than I thought.
So I think the real secret here is Walking Ballista. The card allows for some explosive starts. It's a good distribution of numbers, but often in mid-range matchups, 3/3s and 4/4s don't really matter, and the game has a certain point where you flood out, and then how many impactful cards that you have, and often the good mana accelerators look bad in spots like that. But if you have Walking Ballista as a dump later in the game, then you have this great outlet for all your extra mana, and I think that really changes the value of the creature.
Makes total sense. A lot of mana here from Steven. Here's the Gearhulk. Where do we want to spread these counters around to? That is the question. Yeah, we're going to see. Yep, kill the Gearhulk. So 2 counters on the tracker. Now it's a 7, 8, 9, 10-9. 10-9 tracker. Remember, we also know the next card on top of DeCandio's deck.
Another Ballista.
Yeah. And tracker can't do any good attacking. So DeCandio will untap slowly but surely and draw another copy of Walking Ballista.
So the Tireless Tracker at 9 toughness right now, probably not realistic to find some way to attack, and and you just get to do this instead.
Yeah.
So whatever.
pretty good turn. Do this for 4.
Yeah.
Go. What is the deal with this card?
This is a hoot.
This card is so good. Make a clue, sacrifice it, get a counter. Draw a card. Not sure it's going to stop the Mind Rack Demon. It reminds me a lot of the first time I saw Hangerback Walker.
Yeah.
Where, everything kind of unfolded. It's like, oh, okay. Oh, right, you can sacrifice for a value. Oh, right, you can make a bunch of 1/1s, which is annoying to deal with. Like, it just kind of all unfolded over the course of the weekend when it debuted. And I feel like I'm just going through deja vu. Here comes Tracker.
So to me, the difference is I think Hangerback on 1 is way more powerful than Ballista on 1.
Sure.
But there's an inflection point somewhere where Ballista on, I don't know if it's 3 or 4, but it's around that range where it's better than Hangerback Walker, or at least appears to be. That's dead.
Yeah.
Put that in the graveyard.
Yeah, that's just true.
That's dead. That's also dead.
Yeah. those are not alive.
I'm going to
anymore.
respond.
Yeah.
They're dead.
It's a good choice to respond.
Put them in the graveyard. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And now you're dead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
On to game 2.
Brennan DeCandio gonna win game 1 here over Steven Dykman. Black-green Walking Ballista up a game over green-black Walking Ballista, more or less. There are other things going on here, but boy, is Walking Ballista a good card. We're gonna start with Steven 4 Transgress the Mind, 3 Natural State, 2 Lost Legacy, 2 Ob Nixilis Reignited, a Fatal Push, a Murder, a Grasp of Darkness, and a Tireless Tracker. He's got cards to work with.
So I like the bottom of the screen a lot here. The Ob Nixilis is the Fatal Push, the Murder, the Grasp, and the Tireless Tracker I think are all great here. I'm not a big fan of Transgress in matchups where the game kind of drags out and people are playing off the top of their deck a lot. But if Dykman feels like the game is going to be determined largely by the 3+ cards post-board, then you can bring in the Transgresses.
For Brennan, DeCandio, 3 Lost Legacy, 3 Yahini's Expertise, 2 Natural State, 2 to the Slaughter, an Ishkana Graph Widow, a Kalitas Trader of Get, Nissa Vital Force, Noxious Gearhawk, Ob Nixilis Reignited. Keep in mind, he's got a little Traverse the Wall package here.
Yes, I think the 2 copies of 2 to the Slaughter are a little mopey in the matchup, but if he's concerned a lot about Nissa, I think it's a justifiable card. I'm more interested in the 1-ofs. I think the Ishkana, the Kalitas, the Nissa, the Noxious Gearhulk, and the Ob Nixilis are all great to have as tutor targets, as appropriate for Traverse the Wall, and also are just okay 1-ups to draw over the course of a long game.
These players will sideboard. Get ready here for game number 2 here in just a moment. And this will be our last opportunity to talk about the Aether Revolt pre-release playmat. That's our good friend Pandra Nalar. If you got the opportunity to play an Aether Revolt pre-release, hopefully you played in one that was brought to you in part by StarCityGames.com, so you got your hands on one of these sweet playmats. If you didn't, however, you can head over to go.starcitygames.com/creaturecollection and pick one up today. Don't have a ton of them left, but we know that a lot of the community did enjoy this one, myself as well, drawn by, again, the very wonderful Andrea Radek from StarCityGames.com. So, again, go.starcitygames.com/creaturecollection, pick up your copy of Pandra Nalar today. And for Almond Cat, you can expect something cool coming really soon. Spider-Man on your right.
Yes.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man. There's more lyrics to that song. I don't know it, though.
I think it does anything a spider can, but no one knows the lyrics past that point. Those are the only lyrics anyone knows.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever a ballista can. Just change the song.
So it's very telling here. I think the 4 Walking Ballista in DeCandio versus the 3 in Dykman's, and I know that looks subtle, but 3 on week 1 feels very much like this card's on diminishing returns. I don't really know how good the second copy is in the game. It's a little on the clunky side. I don't know if it's good in every matchup. And the 4 is, no, this card's great, and I just want to draw as many copies of it as possible.
Yep. He just did a DeCandio, win or lose. I'm with you. I think he has a deck in the tournament. But I think he's just done a really nice job of mixing the 2 elements.
Yes.
In Dykman's deck, he's done a nice job of mixing energy into his deck.
Yeah.
But Brennan has mixed Delirium into his deck. And yes, we don't have Emrakul anymore, and really Ishkana's not very good anymore either. I think I agree with the assessments about that. But Grim Flayer still is good. Mindwrack Demon still is good. Or actually has gotten better now, so I like what he's up to.
Really, only the Winding Constrictor is a card that doesn't really play Magic very well on its own. Everything else in his deck is good individually, and with the right setup becomes great. And the Winding Constrictor is so powerful of a payoff alongside many of the other cards that he's playing that it's worth it, even though independent of other things, it's not doing a whole lot.
And we can't forget about Traverse. I know we're not it's not Traverse for Emrakul anymore.
And he's only playing 3 copies, which is, a statement of both, I don't reliably get to Delirium early on in the game, and also I don't really have high impact cards to be finding. You don't have Emrakul on the top end to lock up any late sort of game. So the creature base for a Traverse deck, game 1 at least, is really redundant. 4 Grim Flayer, 4 Winding Constrictor, 4 Walking Ballista, 4 Virtuous Gearhulk, 4 Mindwrack Demon, 3 Rishkar, 2 Tireless Tracker. Post board, then he gets a lot of bullets, and they're bullets for long games.
I've just been informed the rest of the Spider-Man lyrics via Twitter.
Okay.
Via one AJ Soccer. It apparently spins a web and he sighs, catches thieves just like flies. Look out! Here comes the Spider-Man. And then he said everyone knows that. That is not true.
Certifiably false.
That's not true.
We can confirm 2 of us in the booth didn't know.
Yeah, so that's not true.
Cedric didn't even know the second line.
That is true. That is true. I can hum it. Doesn't mean I know it, but I can hum it. Those are good lyrics.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote that song, genius.
It's a sweet jingle.
Yeah, I like that little tune. Like I said, I'll make a Walking Ballista theme out of that.
What is your favorite theme song from a television show?
Ooh.
Or movie, I suppose.
That's tough. Should I just know off the top of my head? I feel like you know off the top of your head.
I do, but I'm curious what your answer is.
I really like the theme songs for The Office and Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
They're very fun to hum, especially The Office with the piano and everything.
Okay.
I enjoy that one a lot. What is yours?
Pink Panther, not close. Just not even.
That's cheating.
Just
That's
not even.
cheating.
Just not even any other. Any other answer, it can't be your favorite. If you answered, if you answered any other song, it's because you didn't think of the Pink Panther song.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That is a great tune. That's a great tune.
Can we get the rights to that song to play at the beginning of the reel when we go live? I assume it's pricey, you know.
That's probably not cheap.
Because it's the best song of all time.
It's probably not
so
cheap.
It's probably pricey.
Yeah, it's not particularly cheap. But I can talk. I know a couple people.
Okay.
So I can get figured out here.
That'd be great.
No. What's the video behind it? Because you have to make the tune to it. So is it like Joe Lissette sneaking around?
Just clips of people very slowly activating Sensei's dividing top, just looking at the top three.
Yeah.
Do 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 do. Something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I would be involved in the creative process.
Okay.
There's a lot of different directions you can take it.
Between this and the Ultimate Guard salad bag deck shuffler.
Yep.
You have really been on top of the ideas this weekend. I must say, you are just you're basically printing money.
I'm a branding and licensing genius.
Yeah. You're basically printing money this weekend.
People don't know this about me.
What were your Devoid shirts?
That was a great idea that never got off the ground, and I should have struck when the iron was hot, but I messed up. After they released Devoid, I wanted to make shirts. I talked to you about this kind of jokingly, but never got off the ground. Of shirts that had whatever color, blue shirt, red shirt, you just make them all in different colors. And the front of the shirt is just the italicized reminder text for Devoid. It just says this shirt has no color. It's like, well, I know you're lying because it's blue or green or whatever, just like you were lying on the Devoid cards. But now, it's not as topical as it was.
Yeah, we're past that
You're
point.
going to have to get me in the foundational meetings. You can't wait until it's no longer the newest block and people just don't care.
I know. I'm working on it.
Yeah,
I'm working on it.
That's another. That was said on the air also, people out there, which is intellectual property. If I see you outside the opens selling these shirts off a rack, we're going to have words.
Your people going to talk to their people.
Yeah. And you would much rather deal with me than my people.
Both these players going to take a look at their opening hand. We'll see if they're going to keep 7. Looks like Steven's happy. We'll find out if Brennan is here in just a moment. As game number 2 going to be underway here shortly. What player's going to keep? Dykman going to start things off with a Hissing Quagmire, as will Brennan DeCandio. Dykman will draw a copy of Fatal Push, play a Blooming Marsh, and a Winding Constrictor. Back over to Brennan we go. Virgil Skeerhawk the draw. Blooming Marsh here. Double Traverse there. Okay. Just going to get some lands. Take care of land drops 3 and 4. Swamp and Forest is what DeCandio is looking for. Is it a counterparty? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
just
Yeah, it's a beatdown.
it's a synergy fest.
Walking Constrictor and Rishkar. Combo time. That's an attack for 4. DeCandio's down to 16.
Cards that improve counters with cards that generate counters at an already above rate.
You get it.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder which one of these you're supposed to kill. Probably the Constrictor, right?
It's... I guess it's a function in some part if you can block the next turn. 4-4 versus 4-5 is different sized.
In for 4. Follow-up. Tracker. No land to play, however. DeCandio will draw.
And the ceiling on the Constrictor is much higher.
Yeah. Here's a land. Constrictor, Ballista, 2-2. See you later, Tracker. Pass the turn back. Dykman will draw. There's a Tracker, a Murder, some other things going on there for
Could
Steven.
really use land number 5.
Yeah.
He had Obnixilis in hand, too, which would be a great card to slam down here.
Yeah, he's looking for running lands right now. Stuck on. Oh, I guess the Rish card adds mana.
Right.
Pardon me. Yeah, could use land number 5. You're right. Let's see what this is. Looks like a fatal push.
Okay, get the fatal push. Attack, I suppose. Can't really do a second Rish card because it's a legendary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess maybe that's another argument for DeCandio's removal spell usage the last turn.
Mm-hmm. Another tracker. Pass the turn back. DeCandio will untap. Draw. Grasp of Darkness. Deal on the Virtuous Gearhawk and some other toys in DeCandio's hand. This is one of those games where a card like Ishkana looks real good. He's just going to go with Virtuous Gearhawk, making 8/8. Hope there's no answer on Dykman's side, but we got a good look at his hand. He does have a Murder there.
And Obnixilis if you can draw a land.
Yep, which he didn't. But Murder will take care of that. This is an attack for 6. DeCandio's down to 6.
Tough spot to be in with your opponent missing land drops and hoping that your Gearhulk is good there, but it is the highest ceiling play, and he couldn't really cobble together two meaningful spells anyway. He could have, grassed something and then played his own Rish card, but that wouldn't have been an effective blocker. Had to get a little lucky to try to pull back in.
He's still got some toys to play with here. He's got another Traverse in hand, and he's got Delirium, because Artifact Creature, Sorcery. Actually, no. I don't think he does. To the sideboard he's going to go. Make sure he knows the configuration of his deck. I think he has Artifact Creature and Sorcery. I think that's it.
Yep.
A little short.
Well, he can grasp, and then he's there.
True.
So you can have a line of play of something like Rishkar plus Grasp, and then hopefully Traverse and set up something like Ishkana or Noxious Gearhulk to stabilize from there.
Rishkar currently a 4/4. I wanted to make sure that thing's not a 2/3 for some reason. So can grasp it. Will grasp it. Follow up. Traverse. He's got Delirium. We saw him go to Gearhulk last time. Okay. Going to go to Gearhulk again this time. Okay. I think the thought... Okay, well, this turn's awesome.
Yeah. Great looking turn.
Yeah. One card left in hand, which is the Gearhulk.
And now Dykman maybe needs running lands. Although now if he has the other copy of Rishkar, that's unlocked.
Yeah, yeah. But Gearhawk's a real doozy
Yes.
that he's got to worry about. 3 Traverses for Brennan, right?
That's all of them.
Yeah, he's used them all. Okay, so that package is out the window.
But a lot of his hypothetical Traverse targets are also just good draw steps right now.
Tracker, 2 clues. Dykman might be settling in for a little bit of a longer game.
The question is if he gets to do that. The problem with Noxious Gearhulk is it just flips the game around really fast into a lethal attacker. If Dykman's confident he has the breathing space to get to Obnixilis, then that's a different question. Then the clues, he can start leveraging those and just try to run away with the game in the way that I think his deck does, which is just kind of generically trade off and draw extra cards.
Is it time for a Noxious Gearhulk?
I think the question first is if DeCandio wants to attack. Because if he offers up here, Dykman probably doesn't block. He then has Noxious Gearhulk. The following turn, if Dykman wants to spend his turn cracking clues, that forces a trade. And are you comfortable with Dykman having to trade his turn off to get your Gearhulk off the table?
Sure, sure.
The reason that I bring this up is the other card in his hand is a Rishkar, and he kind of needs to make some effort to trade this off to be able to play the other one in his hand.
And there's Gearhulk, going to take care of a tracker, pass the turn back. DeCandio will gain a little bit of life. He's up to 7. Dykman down to 17. What does Steven want to do here?
And I suppose with the Noxious Gearhulk trigger getting a little bit of life, if DeCandio wants to, he can just say no blocks. Rishkar.
Counter on each. Five mana now, too, for Dykman. So Nicholas is certainly online. Just going to pass the turn back. DeCandio will draw Swamp to go along with his Rishkar.
I know it's a little gutsy here. I think that DeCandio needs to consider attacking with both.
Huh.
Because either you trade your Rishkar off with something, or they double block the Noxious Gear Hulk. But in any event, the alternative is just saying go, and I can't imagine winning the game from that spot with how bad DeCandio is handed. A sign of strength here, if you attack with both, you might get to trade off Rishkars, then you play your other one in the hand, and now you're at least damage racing. Something's going on. But the alternative to attack with both, I think, is attack with neither, and I just don't see how that's a winning line.
And splitting the difference doesn't get you far either.
Even though if he attacks with both, he's basically dead on board, unless he's willing to play his Rishkar just to have a blocker back. But I think he's got to try to give himself some shot here of trading off resources.
There you go.
Yes. Yes. Love it. And this is an attack that says, my hand's live.
Yep.
Even though we know it's not.
Yeah.
But this is, you got to at least keep up appearances.
Well, I mean, that's why. I mean, look at the reaction.
Right. Because, I mean, and getting in that 3 points of damage last turn was critical because it means the Noxious Gear Hulk is a 3-turn clock.
Yep.
And if you double block the Noxious Gear Hulk and DeCandio has a removal spell,
That's hell on earth.
so like there's a lot of ways this goes bad. I think Dykman has to take this attack at face value and at least trade off Rishkar with something else. Or his Tyler Tracker, whatever. But I think I would be shocked if he's just said, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's possible that Dykman thinks if Dykman thinks Obnixilis is good, then he can take the hit, which is probably the conclusion he's drawing.
He said no blocks. He takes the damage, falls down to 9. Sack a clue, draw a card, put a counter on. Now, to note, DeCandio does have a Hissing Quagmire among his lands. Harvester, Walking Ballista, the past handful of draws here. It's a heck of an attack there from DeCandio.
Yep.
I will say that. Obnix, yep. Can I take care of Noxious Gear Hulk? Just going to pass turn
And I like just holding back
I like
here.
holding a lot.
You got 2 spells in hand plus Obnixilis against nothing.
Yeah. I like holding a lot.
Don't try to turn this into a race right now.
I mean, Dykman's just got more cards. He's just got more everything. He's just got to play more turns.
Yeah, this is the winning recipe, and we've gotten to see both ends of it right now. Game 1, DeCandio's winning recipe is get his synergies unlocked, which he does more reliably, more redundantly, and Dykman's path is break that stuff up, and just allow your density of 2-for-1s to take the game.
Grasp of Darkness on the Rishkar. No response. Now, they can fire up the Quagmire and go after Obnixilis.
The Rishkar was an interesting choice there, because if you get rid of the tracker, then you can also attack with the Rishkar at the Obnixilis.
Can't get rid of the tracker. Rishkar lets him tap for mana.
Oh, and then he
Crack
gets
a
that clue. Right,
Yeah.
right, yep.
I was thinking the same thing previously. The only way you can do it is if you think Steven will miss it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm not.
right, right.
I'm giving him way more credit than that. He's in the finals of the tournament.
Yeah, totally.
Tracker in for.
It's lethal.
Yeah, it's lethal, right? Yep. Harvester could be some real trouble here. And now Siphoner. Trying to think of what Brennan's best draw is.
And he's out of the Noxious Gear Hulk. I mean, probably just Kana,
Yeah.
I would have to guess.
Didn't see what he drew. the pass. A trigger here. Dykman going to draw a card with the Siphoner. I'll draw a card for the turn. It's grasping Obnixilis. He's got a pretty good setup after sideboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of these cards are main deck. I mean, the Obnixilis is doing a lot of work here.
Yeah. A Walking Ballista. Just for one. Turn this on. One flies, one has Menace. One's really big. All of them are tough to block. DeCandio. It's going to turn on Hissing Quagmire. Grasp of Darkness is going to take care of that. Float. Removal spell? Yes. Fatal Push. Take care of Tracker. DeCandio going to take 5. Pass a turn back, and even Ishkana doesn't get him out of it now.
Right. You can just move a counter onto the Ballista.
Yep. So, game number 2 goes to Steven Dykman. And green-black aggro ties things up here against black-green Delirium. I think both these decks are really good.
So there is a recipe from both of these players. Can DeCandio get a better battlefield and get his counter stuff going on versus Dykman just picking that apart and winning with 2-for-1s over a long game?
That's the question.
Yep. And we've gotten to see both so far.
We're working on learning the answer. This is interesting stuff here. I like both of these decks a lot. I gotta say, I know I'm harping on it a little bit here, but I like what both players have brought to the table. They fall underneath the same spectrum because they're the same colors, and they're trying to do some of the same things.
A lot of the same cards.
Yeah, but I think both players are up to something really, really smart here. Do you think anything changes player draw?
So that game went on for a very long time, and we saw no copies of Transgress the Mind from Dykman, and he was on the play for that game. I don't know if that changes when he is on the draw, because maybe, you know, the transgress you on 2 and take your top end and then pick apart your little stuff and then win with the leftover sort of thing becomes a little bit more attractive. But in general, I'm a fan of leaving the transgresses in the sideboard, especially because they don't touch many of the most impactful cards in the matchup.
Yeah.
Don't hit Traverses, they don't hit the Walking Ballistas, they don't hit the Winding Constrictors. And both of these players just get to a spot where they're on empty and playing off the top of their deck anyway, and then your transgressions are really bad draws.
Brennan's on the play here. I like both Planeswalkers if he doesn't have them in already.
I had to imagine they were already in.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of matchup goes on for a very long time.
Yeah. I think Nissa Vital Force could be a game breaker. A lot of good text on that card. A lot of good text.
Especially because a lot of his best sideboard cards are traversing into these bullet creatures and being able to pull those out of the graveyards. Very, very good.
Well, getting ready for our final game here are these two players. We are as well. So let's talk about where you can rewatch the tournament, because I know there's going to be a lot of interest in the results here. And that's on our YouTube page. We, of course, we upload all of our SCG Tour events, the best of SCG Live. Back when was there any of that, Brandon? I know you can't keep up. I know.
And in fact, I would like to correct you.
Okay.
This, which has not been updated yet to say best of SCG Tour.
Yes.
This ad came up, and I went through it and said SCG Tour instead of SCG Live.
Dude.
Yes.
Look at you.
A branding expert.
Yes. Split Second versus Series Commander versus Magic Online playtesting.
Do not want to hear it.
And a whole bunch more. Subscribe today at youtube.com/StarCityGames. Become one of over 100, almost 110,000 subscribers, actually. So thanks to everybody out there for subscribing to the page. Hopefully you're enjoying some of our new shows that we brought out, like Split Second with Jeremy Knoll, like Mini Masters with... we've had Jeremy Knoll versus Ross Merriam. We've had Michael Majors versus Justin Parnell, and this one you're going to like. You ready for this?
Hit me.
I'm thinking right now. I got to talk to both of them, but I talked to one of them this weekend. Stephen Green versus Todd Anderson.
The problem, I mean, that sounds great. The problem is that Stephen Green versus X is just going to be great.
It's going to be good.
I mean, Todd's probably the best person, personality-wise, to you know, do that pairing.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's going to they're going to be war of words.
I know.
Between those two. I'm thinking we should set them up with like a format that's really good, really matters. Hopefully they can just play for, like, how about 2 alpha boosters? Even if they're even in existence. I have no idea.
We play Commander, and every point of damage you do, you get to punch the other person in the face. And you play until you're dead or knocked out.
Steven's probably going to make some Clemson jokes.
Right.
Todd's going to take those real personal. Yeah.
We need to get the unedited version of that matchup for sure.
Todd's not going to like that at all. I will say, Todd took that pretty well. He knew that Clemson was really good.
I don't know. College football's got over 100 teams in it, and when the team you root for wins the national title, over half the time, you should be able to take the losses in stride.
Yeah, he took it pretty good. A really good game too.
You could be a fan of Rutgers sports. It's like never win a game in football. Basketball coach beats up his kid, the kids that he's
That's probably not great.
Got fired.
It's probably not great. Much like being a fan of Purdue.
Right.
Never won anything.
A lot worse.
I think we're tied.
Compared to losing in the national title game. Yeah. The word disgraced former attaches itself to many people associated with the Rutgers athletic program.
Yes. It's tough. It's tough to be from Rutgers.
So
I get you.
I get you.
Looks like Steven going to take a mulligan here. Brennan looks happy enough with his 7. So for the final time, we'll talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter here this weekend. While Steven does shuffle up, because we're going to be talking about in the newsletter this tournament and getting everybody ready for SCG Richmond next week. And it's your source for Magic the Gathering news, where you'll find highlights from some of our best articles of the week, upcoming SCG Tour dates and locations, IQs and game nights near you, and of course an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, it's free to sign up for. Go to StarCityGames.com/newsletter, where you will not find Stephen Green in it. You won't. You will never find him in it. And I'm only saying that because he is hovering around the booth, giving me the stink eye.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if the world at large is ready for the written musings of Stephen Green. We might have to just wait for the autobiography.
It's coming soon. Swamps for each player to start here in our final game from Columbus.
In the tradition of many great American Southern writers.
Yes. DeCandio will draw. Picks up a swamp. Ooh, snake.
Yep.
Snake.
This is the interlocking pieces draw too, because I believe it's paired with the ballista.
Yeah.
So now this is the pressure on Dykman's removal.
Yeah. Combo. Can I call this a combo? Snake ballista.
I thought you were gonna ask me if I could count Swamp and Forest plus Green Black Gold card as a combo. To which my answer is of course.
Okay, just making sure.
But yeah, the White Ballista is
okay.
also a combo.
Just making sure. You're the leader of Combo Nation, so I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Look what this guy figured out. Yep. The Swamps and Forests alongside his,
Fatal Push is going to take care of the Winding Constrictor. Here's a Swamp for DeCandio, I think. Oh, it's going to be the real combo. It's going to be Rishkar into the Snake. But now it's just Rishkar by itself. Still good as we head over to Steven. No third land, maybe? I'm not sure. It looks like he might have a hub. I know he's got a servant of the conduit, but it does make some sense that if he has a removal spell to be scared of what Rishkar could bring to the table early, like a Gear Hulk. So there's a lot for Dykman to think about here. I know relative unknown coming into this tournament, but he's played well.
Yes. And the deck has looked cool and creative. I'm especially interested in just it sort of inspired now to explore how many different sort of energy sub-themes can you weave into different archetypes. Because it doesn't look like much, but when you've watched, if you were to read the deck list, it wouldn't look like much. But if you've watched Dykman in action, the energy synergies have been coming up.
Ballista, no fourth land here for DeCandio.
And this is the value from Dykman's side of having so much removal in his deck. That draw of Constrictor into Rishkar into Ballista, we go back to the top 4 match against Hunter Nance, and that draw is just, it's winning a huge percentage of the time.
Yeah, it was game over.
Here, there's still work to be done.
Grasp of Darkness, the draw. The fear you have if you're Brennan right now is, okay, 2 servant of the conduits, access to 6 mana next turn potentially. Omnixless is not easy for DeCandio to beat right now if it comes ahead of schedule.
Yep. And DeCandio trying to play the removal controlling game, it's much harder for him, even though a lot of the cards look the same. It's weird to think that someone would be much worse at playing this game than the other. But because Dykman just draws so many extra cards, he has more 2-for-1s laying around, that if the game drags out, Dykman's just drawing to more copies of Omnixless. He's drawing to more copies of Tireless Tracker.
Another Walking Ballista pass the turn back. Over to Dykman we go. He's got access to 6 mana, a couple cards in hand. I think he actually has an Omnixless in hand. So, he's going to tap 5 mana. He's going to use an energy. Here comes the big Planeswalker. It's going to break some things wide open. Going to pay a life, draw a card, and more importantly, loyalty up to 6. Hissing Quagmire's land for the turn, and now here's a Fatal Push.
And Dykman with a Fatal Push of his own, so now he's got to decide if this is the spot where I want to use it. And at this point, it's sort of hard to track the numbers and all the various implications with Omnixless, but if you think you're going to Fatal Push anyway, that's likely to happen, just do it now. Don't allow that Omnixless to take a hit that it doesn't need to.
DeCandio going to draw a card. Picked up a Winding Constrictor. Mana currently the issue here for Brennan.
Well, it's mana, and also the cards in his hand are ineffectual. He's got removal spells, which is whatever. He's got creatures he can't really play in the face of Omnixless.
There's Constrictor, pass the turn back. Dykman gonna draw a card. Up goes the elevator on Omnixless. Force the draw. So going with a hub and I believe a harvester. Harvester's still plenty good here, though.
Now this is a big land number 4 right here. Because if DeCandio can cast 2 spells in 1 turn, if he can pump the Ballista, if he can play Mind Rack Demon, he may be able to pressure the Omnixless. If he misses here,
that's a hit.
That's a hit.
Okay.
I think the door might have shut on DeCandio if he missed his land drop that turn.
Thing is, he gets Omnixless off the battlefield, he's in great shape.
Yeah. Well, his hand is 2 grass and a Mind Rack Demon, which is good. That's a good hand, but that's by no means a lock for him to win a protracted game here.
Totally agree there. Mind Rack Demon. Trigger, top 4. And a 1. And a 2. And a 3. And a 4. He's got Delirium right now. Fatal Push among the cards that have been placed in the graveyard. We're going to head back over to Dykman, which means he'll get the draw card for the turn. Didn't get a great look. I think it may have been Rishkar. And now he's got to figure out how he wants to use Omnixless.
Yeah, ideally, you would like to just be plussing Omnixless as much as possible and hope to just chain together enough removal spells and blockers and just win on 2 cards a turn. The minute he has to go down with the Omnixless means that DeCandio has a window with the Walking Ballista to take care of Omnixless, and now we're playing a game again. But the Mind Rack Demon might be threatening enough to attack the Omnixless that, Dykman's got to let it go at this point. And it's not like he should be upset with the value he got off his Omnixless.
It's not, Omnixless did pretty good.
Drew a bunch of cards and will kill a Mind Rack Demon and swallow a lot of DeCandio's mana over several turns. But if he doesn't feel confident in his ability to protect Omnixless next turn, there's a very strong argument for just getting rid of the Mind Rack Demon and cutting your losses.
Yeah, now it's just about how much do I value this Planeswalker? How do I want to value this Planeswalker? Have I gotten the most that I can? It's up to 6. Draw. Forest.
Now that's the high ceiling play. If he finds a removal spell off that Omnixless, then it looks great.
I believe the hand's a hub and a Rishkar. He's tapping more mana. It's going to turn that on. It might be Rishkaring here. Okay. Yep. It's Self and the Harvester. Okay. Counters up. Pass a turn. DeCandio on tap. Yep, he's clear on Delirium. No damage. Draw. Traverse, I think. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, he can't get to any of his big hits this turn. He could set up another Mind Rack Demon. If he's brought into Kalitas, he has access to that the following turn.
Kalitas pretty good on the board.
But he also may want to, if he feels like the game's going to drag out a little bit here, he may want to wait until he has the mana for something like Noxious Gear Hulk or Shkana, one of the high-impact plays. Because Mind Rack Demon and Kalitas are totally fine, but they also just trade with a removal spell or trade with an Obnixilis activation, and DeCandio may need to squeeze out a little bit more than that.
Interesting to see here. Mind Rack Demon in combination with Grasp can take care of the Harvester. That's not that difficult. He's going to start with Traverse.
It's also possible this turn that he just wants to Traverse for a Swamp, so he can double Grasp in combat.
He's going to search for a Forest.
Then I guess he has designs with the Ballista this turn?
Maybe. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine right now. Using energy here. Remember, Mind Rack Demon has Trample. Yeah, he's going to add Obnixilis. Harvester right now is a 4/6. He can turn it into a 0/2. Counter. Shoot once. Shoot again. Huh. That's not what I expected for the turn.
I'm still, unless there's a double, oh, there's Virtuous Gear Hulk he's drawing too. Okay,
Right.
that explains the second Forest.
Okay. Draw. Constrictor. How to use Obnixilis.
And yeah, you just need the one payoff card here. If you drew a removal spell, it's so easy. You can just kill something, use Obnixilis to kill another thing, and
If the game's easy.
now you're coasting.
Yeah.
But as long as he's flooding out a little bit here, he can plus again. But then if he misses, he's got nothing going on. His Obnixilis is totally exposed. So that's the question for Dykman here. At what point does he sort of cash it in and say, I've gotten what I can get? And he's reaching for this die instead of grabbing another one. I think we're going down.
It's a really tough decision.
I sort of... my instinct is to go down here. One, because I'm not confident in Dykman's ability to protect this Obnixilis any further. And the second is, okay, so the Obnixilis goes down to 3. That means the Ballista plus the Constrictor goes up to 3. You can finish off the Obnixilis that way. That's not a bad cost here. If you were leaving the Ballista with 1 counter left over, I could see saying that's just not good enough. But if you actually get to get the Ballista off the table, I think that's enough value.
Okay. I think he's going to fire up the Quagmire, maybe. Yeah. Beatdowns, huh? Fair enough. Hey, man. Steven's played really good Magic. He's even found good spots to get damage in.
Yep.
Where I think maybe some players would be a little bit more lax. Constrictor. Pass. DeCandio will draw. Big draw step here for him. To the
slaughter.
Oof.
That qualifies.
It's a good thing.
That is a big draw.
It's a good thing you killed that Mind Rack Demon. Whew.
What's critical about this is if he had to just kind of cash in the Ballista to get the Obnixilis off the battlefield, that's just a pretty painful exchange. And let's see, he might even be able to do a little bit better.
Yeah, he's
going to get it all.
There's To the Slaughter. Oh boy, that's a hell of a turn. Jeez.
That is everything.
Jeez. Jeez.
And it's funny because Dykman's attack last turn looked safe enough. Looked like he had a lot back to work with.
Yeah. Now I think he just has 2 lands in hand and Quagmire on the battlefield, which DeCandio has covered with Grasp. Yeah, he's got Swamp Hub. And I thought his attack was good last turn.
Yep.
I thought he found a good time to sneak in a little bit of damage. Maybe it was aggressive. I don't know. Felt good at the time. Doesn't look great now. So DeCandio's going to draw a card.
Oh boy.
This game is taking a turn.
Those are some nice draw steps back to back for DeCandio.
Yeah. Obnixilis picked up a copy of Mind Rack Demon. DeCandio's going to just pass the turn back.
And I don't know if Dykman has cards in his list to touch a Planeswalker that is on the battlefield.
There's Fatal Push to take care of the Constrictor. Here comes Quagmire. It's going to go after Obnixilis. He's got to slow it down some. But it's tough to chip away at that thing.
I don't think he has Ruinous Path or...
Verdurous Gearhawk the draw here for DeCandio. He'll draw another card from Obnixilis. Picked up, I think, another... Jeez. Well, let the rares and the mythics fly, kid. In for 5. Pass the turn back.
Someone opened up some booster packs.
Boy, this game shifted in a big way.
This flipped fast.
Jeez. I mean, outside of the attack, I don't know if there's more that Dykman could have done.
I mean, it's the attack, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
It looked fine on the table, and maybe, you know, it requires a really specific set of cards from DeCandio. But maybe the argument is this game's just not going to come down to Dykman squeezing out 4 points. That's not the way he's winning this matchup. It's just grinding DeCandio down with 2-for-1s. And is it just worth erring on the super side of caution? And I think it would have been bad regardless because Dykman was just leaning on the Obnixilis to keep him going. Okay. I think the 2 to the Slaughter might have been a backbreaker anyway, but the attack of the turn previous definitely cemented that the Grass plus 2 to the Slaughter was going to be too much.
It was good. That's for sure. It was good. 2 to the Slaughter has been great every time we've seen it this weekend.
Yeah.
Every time. Melissa's going to do its thing now. It's going to take care of Rishkar. And now he says, yeah, you can have your counters there. Yep. DeCandio says, that's totally fine if you want to knock my Obnixilis down to 2. Doesn't bother me one bit. Plus up to 3. DeCandio will draw a card. Pick a Tireless Tracker. Another Gearhulk. On the Ballista. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is going to do it. Brennan DeCandio is going to win this match here over Steven Dykman. 2-1. Black-Green Delirium wins your first Aether Revolt release tournament. And, more importantly, and this cannot be understated, he has just won back-to-back Standard Opens.
Congratulations. That's quite the accomplishment.
Unbelievable.
In very different formats.
Yes. With not the same deck, obviously, but the same archetype. And we're going to bring him into the booth here for a winner's interview in just a second. But this cannot be understated. At some point, today, tomorrow, whenever you have time, go watch the deck tech that I had the opportunity to do with him.